The air in the small town of Havenwood, nestled deep in the heartland, always carried a certain serenity. The kind of peace that whispers through the trees, settles in the quiet streets, and promises a sense of safety. This was a town where doors were often left unlocked, where neighbors knew each other's routines, and where the changing seasons dictated the rhythm of life. The rolling hills surrounding Havenwood, dotted with farms and whispering forests, provided a picturesque backdrop to this seemingly tranquil existence. But that peace was shattered, irrevocably broken, by a series of events so horrific, so brutal, that they would forever stain the town's history with a deep, crimson hue. This is the story of Ronald and Kenneth Elliott, and the unspeakable acts that brought their lives to a violent, agonizing end. Their story is not for the faint of heart, a chilling exploration into the darkest corners of the human psyche, a testament to the potential for evil that lurks beneath the veneer of everyday life. We know the barest details from a cryptic Reddit post, a single sentence that screamed volumes: the mutilation murders of Ronald and Kenneth Elliott. That sentence, a digital whisper in the vast echo chamber of the internet, became a siren song, pulling those with an interest in the dark side of human nature into a chilling vortex of speculation and unanswered questions. Who were Ronald and Kenneth Elliott? What kind of lives did they lead? And, most disturbingly, what kind of monster was capable of such a horrific crime? The scarcity of information fueled the macabre fascination, turning a local tragedy into a digital ghost story, whispered and distorted with each retelling. To truly understand the tragedy that unfolded, we must first delve into the lives of the victims. Ronald and Kenneth Elliott were brothers, a bond forged through shared childhood memories and the quiet understanding that only siblings possess. Rumors around Havenwood painted them as quiet men, living simple lives. Neighbors recalled them as being polite, keeping to themselves, their interactions polite but distant. Details are frustratingly scarce, the kind that are only unearthed in dusty old local newspapers and forgotten police reports. Ronald, the elder brother, worked as a mechanic at Miller's Auto Repair, a fixture on the edge of town. His hands were perpetually stained with grease, his knowledge of engines a source of pride. He was known for his meticulous work, his quiet competence, and his unwavering loyalty to his brother. He was a man of few words, but those who knew him recognized his integrity. Kenneth, a few years younger, worked at the town's post office, a job that required reliability and a steady hand. He was a man of routine, dependable, the kind of individual who was integral to the smooth operation of a small town. He knew everyone's mail routes, their preferred delivery times, a silent observer of Havenwood's comings and goings. Together, they shared a modest, well-kept house on Elm Street, a testament to their quiet, uncomplicated existence. The house, with its neat garden and a perpetually gleaming mailbox, was an outward reflection of their orderly lives. They weren't known for any particular connections with the community outside of their work. It seemed that their entire world consisted of one another, a self-contained unit within the larger tapestry of Havenwood. They were, from all accounts, unremarkable, until their lives were violently, brutally marked by the most terrible of crimes. The timeline of events is, at this point, frustratingly fragmented, pieced together from vague reports and whispered local memories. The exact date the brothers disappeared is unclear, lost in the blur of ordinary days that preceded the extraordinary horror. What we do know is that their absence was initially noted by Kenneth's supervisor at the post office, Mr. Henderson, a man known for his punctuality and his intolerance for tardiness. Kenneth hadn't shown up for work, and the postal service was experiencing an increased flow of mail, meaning his absence created a noticeable disruption. Ronald, normally a fixture at the garage, a phantom presence amidst the scent of oil and metal, had also failed to appear for his shifts. This was wholly out of character for both men who lived by the clock. Their neighbors, who were accustomed to seeing the lights on at their house or hearing the low hum of the television, reported an eerie silence emanating from their usually well-maintained home. When their employer tried to make contact, no one answered the phone. The authorities were alerted, a missing persons report was filed, and the initial, almost perfunctory, search began. It was a search that would soon escalate. After a week, a concerned neighbor, Mrs. Gable, a woman known for her sharp eyes and her tendency to notice even the smallest deviation from the norm, had become increasingly worried by the unusual silence and a faint, disturbing stench that had begun to emanate from the Elliott residence. The odor, she described, was unlike anything she had ever smelled before, a sickly sweet undertone beneath something far more primal. She decided to contact the police again, her unease escalating to a primal fear. Armed with a warrant, Detective Miller and his partner forced entry into the house. Upon entering, what they found was a scene that would forever haunt the memories of those involved. A tableau of unspeakable violence etched into their minds. The details are difficult to recount, the horror almost unbearable. The brothers were found inside, victims of a crime so brutal, so meticulously executed, that it defied comprehension. They had been brutally murdered, their bodies desecrated in a manner that spoke of profound rage and depravity. The Post's chilling title, "Mutilation Murders," became a horrifying reality. The crime scene was a testament to the perpetrator's cold, calculating rage. The level of violence, the deliberate nature of the mutilation, suggested something far beyond a crime of passion. It spoke of a deep-seated hatred, a disturbing pathology that had been unleashed upon these two quiet brothers. The bloodstains, the disarray, the sheer brutality of it all painted a grim picture of their final moments. The detectives painstakingly began to piece together the fragments of the Elliott brothers' lives, hoping to find a connection, a clue, anything that might lead them to the perpetrator. They interviewed neighbors, friends, and acquaintances, sifting through the mundane details of their lives for any hint of discord or danger. The initial findings provided them with very little. The brothers were, as previously reported, relatively solitary men, their lives marked by a consistent routine that offered no obvious avenues for such violence. The only connection was the fact that they lived together, their shared existence the only apparent vulnerability. They did not have any known enemies. No disgruntled former colleagues, no jilted lovers, no outstanding debts that could point to a motive. The only thing that seemed to stand out, a small anomaly in their otherwise unremarkable existence, was the fact that Ronald had recently purchased a new, high-end car, a gleaming sedan that seemed out of place in their modest lifestyle. Did this fact play a role? Was this the beginning of a motive for the killer, a twisted envy or resentment? The questions gnawed at the investigators. Forensic evidence provided some clues, a desperate attempt by science to bring order to the chaos. Despite the chaotic nature of the crime scene, detectives were able to collect fingerprints, blood samples, and traces of DNA. The analysis, however, was a lengthy and often frustrating process, each step filled with the anxious hope of a breakthrough. Matches were found on the state's database, but they led nowhere. The DNA belonged to individuals with no connection to Havenwood or the Elliott brothers. The fingerprints revealed nothing, either belonging to the victims themselves or to individuals who had had legitimate access to their home. The wait for results was grueling, and the pressure to solve the case mounted with each passing day. The community of Havenwood was in shock, their ingrained sense of security shattered. The idyllic peace was permanently broken, replaced by a suffocating blanket of fear and suspicion. People locked their doors, avoided walking alone at night, their eyes constantly scanning their surroundings, wondering who the killer was and if they were still among them. The tragedy had transformed a once safe community into a place of unease and paranoia, where every shadow seemed to hide a threat. Years passed. The case, despite the best efforts of the investigators, remains unsolved. The evidence, though meticulously collected and analyzed, did not provide enough to charge a suspect. The frustration of the detectives, the deep, unyielding pain of the victim's few distant relatives, and the pervasive fear of the community were palpable. The case of Ronald and Kenneth Elliott became a cold case, a file that gathered dust in a forgotten corner of the evidence room, but not forgotten. The file remains open, a constant reminder of the injustice, waiting for a breakthrough, a new piece of evidence, a deathbed confession, anything that might finally bring justice to the victims. The impact of the mutilation murders of Ronald and Kenneth Elliott continues to resonate through Havenwood. The tragedy serves as a stark reminder of the darkness that can reside within the human heart, the potential for evil that can lurk beneath. The case serves as a constant, painful reminder of the lives that were lost, two men who asked for nothing more than to live their lives in peace. The case has also had a profound effect on the Havenwood Police Department, which has since invested in additional training and resources, vowing to be better prepared for the unthinkable. The community itself has changed, forever marked by the experience. The quiet streets still echo with the unanswered questions, the lingering sense of unease, the desperate hope that one day, the truth will be revealed, and the killer will be brought to justice. The legacy of Ronald and Kenneth Elliott is a haunting testament to the vulnerability of life, the fragility of human existence. Their story, a dark echo in the annals of true crime, underscores the importance of vigilance, the need to confront the darkness within ourselves and within society, and the enduring hope that even in the face of unspeakable acts, justice will ultimately prevail. The case of the mutilation murders of Ronald and Kenneth Elliott remains a chilling puzzle, a stark warning, a constant reminder that evil, sometimes, walks among us, hidden in plain sight. The search for the truth continues, a never-ending quest for closure, for the sake of Ronald and Kenneth Elliott, and for the broken heart of Havenwood. The case remains cold, but the memory of the brothers, and the horror of their final moments, remains tragically, undeniably alive.